Welcome to the Training Portal podcast, where we delve into the heart of growth and transformation, both personal and professional. I'm your host, Melissa Mostert, and every fortnight, I'll be sharing a meaningful conversation over coffee with industry leaders, innovators, and changemakers who are helping to shape the future of South Africa. Welcome to today's podcast. I'm Melissa Mostert, and joining me is a guest whose work is shaping the future of animation in South Africa and beyond. Werner Uys is the driving force behind Lucan Animation Studios, one of the country's leading animation studios, known for its exceptional work in both advertising and film. With over 14 team members and a growing international client base, Lucan Animation Studios has collaborated with major brands, including Disney, and continues to set new benchmarks in the animation industry. In this conversation, we'll explore Werner's journey into animation, the evolving role of AI in the industry, and what it takes to build a successful animation studio. We'll also discuss the demand for South African animation talent globally, the skills needed to thrive in the industry, and what sets Lucan Animation Studios apart. So if you're an aspiring animator, a creative professional, or just someone fascinated by the world of animation, you won't want to miss this. Werner, thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast. It is an absolute pleasure to be sitting with you today.
Thank you. It's lovely being here.
So I think we should just start. How about you take us through your whole career journey? Where and what did you study? How did you get started in animation of all things?
Okay, I'll try and keep it brief. So I studied advertising actually at AAA after school. I think I did brand and media. I specialized in brand and media. I can't actually recall. Then from there, I worked a bit for Nike. And then from there, I was marketing manager for a film company. So that's how I got into film. I was always around a lot of my peers and friends who were already in film, live action mostly. My partner as well, she was an offline editor. And then one of my best friends, he was in animation. So I worked in film for 2 or 3 years for the company. And then Vian, one of the co-founders, he had an idea. Back then we were young, we were house sharing in Fredo, Cape Town. Came back home one evening and we started chatting, and then we created this idea. It was not necessarily what we do now. We still have a lot of interest in it, but it was more on the experiential side. So projection mapping 2012 wasn't really... We saw opportunity in the local market, in the entertainment space. We created a proof of concept. Facebook was around already, but social media wasn't as powerful as it's now. A lot of blogs were still a thing, a bigger thing than it is now. And we did the proof of concept in our garage, filmed it, sent it out to a bunch of people. In the Cape Town Joburg space, we got a lot of views and the phone started ringing. So we quickly realized back then, we were young, we wanted to make content for DJs. And we realized there's not a lot of money in it because the corporate gigs started rolling in. So, we tackled that. Then we were 3 guys that started it. Then we got opportunity from a silent partner investor, came to us and said, I think you guys should do this full time. We did it. And we operated in that space for a good 3 years, where we projection mapped cars. I think we did a Ford Mustang launch. We did a massive setup in the artscape for an awards evening. We did a lot of cars. We did Audi. I think we did F1 car at some stage. A lot of fun. And so the company sort of grew, from a headcount point of view. And then we started making a switch because from an experiential point of view, LEDs came in. We still did a lot of live event content, but started switching a bit more to narrative work. So, a bit more storytelling, 2D and 3D. And that started picking up. In 2018, we did another proof of concept for a development project, which we got a mega grant from Unreal Engine.
Oh, okay.
That sort of injected the technology and innovation back into the studio from software point of view. And that started opening a few doors and conversations for us. We only launched that in 2020, but in COVID actually. And then, fast forward to where we're now, and I think we will get to it, but the split of work is no longer experiential anymore, but still interested in that market. I think a lot of times you need to be on site and in the environment itself for whatever you're doing, it being an art installation, being a corporate gig. And I think locally, there's not so many opportunities anymore, I find, or to do big stuff, because we do have a lot of friends in Canada. They do a lot of that work still, and so I think there's still opportunity, and it is a fun space to be in because each and every brief is unique. Yeah,
it does sound fun. Is there anything that actually like specifically inspired you to specialize in something like animation? Like, what were some of the early influences?
so I spent a bit of time in live action, but I think post was always a bit of a safer place for me personally. And I think for example, you go into social media now, and everyone's posting latest and greatest, and it's visual, generative stuff. I think I know I've been speaking a lot to some of our good colleagues and friends overseas, and they are investigating, how can you make long format, content using AI. So I think it's going to happen. But I think at this stage, I don't think it will replace humans, but I think you should embrace it. I think you can achieve amazing results and be open-minded.
Excuse me, you look very open-minded.
And I think the only concern for me is the creative licensing part of it, and where the content is coming from, and where the AI, the model is getting its point of reference, and which we are teeny tiny compared to these companies that's building all of this. That for me is a concern, because of course we've got amazing friends and people we've worked with over the years that are artists and really good artists, and I've seen some examples out there where someone posts something and the actual artist, it's a 100% replica of their work, because a lot of artists have a style which is their style. So I think that's concerning for me, but we don't have much control over that. But I think it's something you need to embrace going forward.
And I think that issue is something we even saw before AI, with people just taking credit or even trying to adapt a style. But I love your answer, how you said that you were using it almost under the hood. It's helping with
one aspect, yeah.
That's. I mean, we make use of it just to help with that. It doesn't replace the human element. It's just enhancing it so that you can focus on other aspects.
Yeah, that's well put.
So is it important for aspiring animators to study something like graphic design and still design before venturing into animation?
Probably two ways to think about it. In our studio setup, we have artists that never studied. There's one artist that studied, BCom, and 3-4 years in, he could draw very well his whole life, and he just said he doesn't want to do this, and he's an art director now. Then you have artists. We've got an amazing artist that studied at Michaela's. So you have an artist that studied fine art at Michaela's who's now head of CG, technical artist that writes scripts, that does quality control, that runs a pipeline, but he's of course got the eye to see what's working, what isn't working from a creative point of view. To maybe put myself in an 18-year-old's shoes, when I finished school, I don't know what I wanted to do. And I don't think a lot of people do. And I am old now, so I'm not sure where the kids' heads are nowadays. But, going to go study is not a bad idea. But then there's also the other side where you can self-educate. Do you have the discipline to do it? There's a lot of online, more affordable options out there. And then also, animation as a term is incredibly broad. There's so many skill sets that falls under that umbrella. Yeah. So again, I think what any artist should do is jump in and have an overview and a skill set as a generalist. And if they do want to specialize in something, they find their feet via experience, with the studio or on live projects once they are ready. But at least have a good idea of the whole pipeline. And there's good examples of that. There's some international courses out there which do prime someone to open up software, and they can do anything from concept all the way to final render and comp.
Okay.
So I think that's a good approach rather than, just trying to specialize. But again, not knowing anything, I don't think that would be the case. So I'm really answering your question. I think it depends on if someone needs a bit of guidance. But I also have seen a 16-year-old, I've met a 16-year-old and I've met a 14-year-old that have been in self-educating themselves and learning, and they are capable then a lot more
Most
than
people.
someone with 5 or 6 years experience in the industry.
Yeah, I think
So
it all just depends on their passion for it. Like if it's something that they just decided, oh, I'm kind of good at drawing. Let me see where this goes. Or someone who's always said, I have an absolute passion for this. Let me see what I can do. So you mentioned skill sets quite a bit. What are the most in demand skills in animation today?
Okay, so where we need specialists, for example, would be, for example, if a character needs groom, like hair and all of that. It's a very much a standalone skill set. You know, you've got animation as a standalone, someone that only animates characters. Again, you get some generalists that can do that plus a few more things. Then you get on the more at the tail end of the pipeline, you get, you know, lighting, rendering and compositing. You get artists that can light and composite. You get some that only light and composite. So that's sort of a very simple breakdown of almost specialist skill. But again, a lot of people can do a bit of everything. On demand, I think the grooming, you know, to get a good groom artist is sometimes difficult. It takes long and it's quite detailed work. So I would say in my experience and how we go about things, that's usually something when we have people in our team or in our as a contractor, we've met them, we've worked with them, we sort of, you know, keep them close.
And how would someone who, let's say, just studied or wanting to study or are self-studied, how can they break into the animation industry? Do you recommend something like freelancing, internships, or, I mean, you already said formal studies is not you don't have to do it, but what would your suggestion be?
So when someone emails us, that first thing we do is we just look at their portfolio. We don't actually look at where you studied. And then, you know, we also want to meet the person, see if it's a nice human.
Fit, yeah.
It's a nice fit. Portfolio is key. So, you know, again, the study thing isn't that of importance to us. But I think someone that's young, they can create. And the more they create, the more experience they'll get. So they have a good portfolio, and then that can go to a studio. And that's how they can potentially get, like, you know, an internship or apprenticeship. So that's a good path to take. And then you need the studio experience, or at least a little bit of it, even if you want to then go freelance from there, to understand. Because I always said what we do is very much a team, like sport. Smaller jobs, you know, freelancers and individuals can do. But I'm more speaking about the bigger stuff. You need a few people to work together to achieve that end picture, the goal. So it's, you know, we've worked with a few green artists, and I think they don't necessarily always understand the team aspect and how to communicate. And I think that's more the soft skill stuff, which comes with experience. So, you know, how do you get in there is a strong portfolio, and then, you know, you get a bit of experience. Some artists don't like that structure. Some realize, well, I'm good enough. Let me try and build up a bit of a clientele on my own side and go freelance. But I think just to get that first couple of years out of the way, I would say that's probably the best route.
It's quite interesting because I know a lot of companies, they want those formal, you know, the formal education. They want the diplomas. They want everything. So the fact that you guys are saying, no, we want to see what you can do, because that's the end goal. You want to see what a person can do for you. It's not necessarily what they've got behind their name, because you can easily get a degree in something, but it's a matter of, can you actually do the tasks?
I just want to put a disclaimer on it. Like, I'm speaking very much to the local market. If you do want to leave the country, you know, you want to go work in New Zealand. Well, back in the day, like a lot of people want to go work for Weta in New Zealand and all that, or, you know, you want to go to Canada, then you need a degree to get out of here. So I'm not saying don't study. It makes your life a lot more difficult if you only have South African passports and you are an amazing artist and you want to go abroad. Again, with what's happening in the industry, you know, I can't speak for those very big studios, but that was the case, you know, for most of the years we've run our studio is you need a degree, otherwise, they're not necessarily gonna look at you. Yeah.
That, I mean, like you said, it is. I think that's more the international norm at this point. But that also comes with a lot of other technicalities, not just the degree. Sometimes it doesn't even matter if you have the degree, it's where you've got the degree from.
Yeah, that's also.
So why is animation in such high demand in the film and advertising industries?
Is it?
Is it?
I'm joking. A simple answer would be, you can tell a story in a different way, where there's possible limitations when it comes to live action. Like I said, it's endless, the possibilities on how you put the story together, what it looks like, characters, you can really push the limits. Push it to the limit. I think that's probably why people opt for, going the animation route. I'm thinking back past projects we've had. We did a 3-minute brand piece. We had a few characters, and the reason it was very much a live action script, but there are a lot of challenges with location, talent, the actual device that had to be used didn't exist yet, so they couldn't get a physical prop in hand. So then you do a big post job on it where it gets comped in. So they just went and said, let's change this into, a cute story. So that's like I think a really small example. But I think you can think of any big feature film out there, and when you watch it, what it does, for you, and like even anything family. I watch like all the big blockbusters, and it takes you into a different space,
like a different realm almost for you to. I mean, I agree with animation. The way I've seen it, you are only limited by what your imagination can come up with. Where with live action, it's a lot more difficult to do certain things.
Most times it's set in reality. Yeah.
In what situations, though, is animation a more effective medium than traditional film?
Again, maybe, but communicating, let's say on advertising side or commercial side, a difficult message or sensitive message, there I find, animation coming in play. We're doing currently a little spot where it's like mix. We've got a live action dog up front, and then it goes into this really fun little character. To tell that story, I'm like, I can't imagine it live action, because you're taking something quite serious and you're turning it into fun. And it's just like a short 10-second little, like 3 10-seconders. So I think it's just, again, it breaks down a few walls and give you a few more possibilities where animation sort of can help you in communicating what you want to communicate. Long form, certain things are written to be animation. Creating worlds and stuff that doesn't exist. It's also who's going to watch it. Is it for family? Is it for kids? I think a lot of time people associate animation with kids, which is the majority of time. But there is also amazing adult content out there, or family, or teen. So again, it's in the lesser. The kids are the most popular, but again, you can achieve a lot and tell different stories. Probably not giving the best answer here, but it's a bit of a head scratcher for me as well. Yeah.
And what are the main differences, though, between working in an animation project that is for film versus something for advertising?
So advertising, the turnaround is a lot quicker, a lot more pressure. Generally speaking, timelines are a lot quicker, a lot of moving parts. Where long form, so being a feature film or series, it's a lot more structured, I find, and there's a lot more planning. Not that it's not less planning going into the commercial side, but I would say it's a bit chaotic on this side, on the commercial side, where long form generally, it's a bit slower paced. The teams are built and they work for a much longer period. And it's just better structured. And there's your parameters and limitations and your variables, everything is in front of you, where there's a lot of stakeholders as well on the commercial side. You can have an agency involved, you can have then a client involved. Sometimes you have 2 tiers of clients involved, and approvals, and because everything's happening so fast and there's little setbacks where a stakeholder changes their mind.
Then
so it's unpredictable in that way. And you can set up contracts until you're blue. At the end of the day, you're servicing someone to, communicate whatever they want to communicate.
Before we continue with the rest of the interview, here's a quick look at how Training Portal empowers individuals and businesses through skills development. We are excited to share with you how we can support your business's growth with our expertly designed training solutions. At Training Portal, we are proud to be a leader in skills development consulting and a multi-accredited training academy, committed to solving your unique challenges through innovative and cost-effective solutions. Whether you are looking to enhance your team's skills, comply with industry regulations, or maximize your BEE scores, our extensive range of over 300 short courses and more than 30 fully accredited qualifications cover all your needs. From agriculture to information technology, our CETA and QCTO accredited qualifications are designed to provide comprehensive learning experiences. We here at Training Portal understand that every organization is unique. That is why we tailor our training programs to fit your specific requirements, ensuring maximum benefits within your available resources. Our innovative learning platform allows for flexible, self-paced study, available both on-site at your premises and through our Training Portal campuses all across South Africa. Our process is straightforward yet impactful. Starting with a detailed consultation, we develop bespoke solutions that align with your training, financial, and BEE objectives. Success stories from our clients across 18 industries are a testament to our commitment. With Training Portal, you achieve more than your training outcomes. You gain a partner who stands by you from the initial consultation through to the continuous management of your training program. We cater to a wide array of training needs with meticulously crafted solutions. Beyond our main campuses, we have also developed a community campus initiative, bridging the education gap in rural and disadvantaged areas. Through partnerships with forward-thinking companies, we provide accessible, accredited training and rapid learning courses, directly empowering these communities. This initiative not only fosters local talent and meets the partner's skills development objectives, but also contributes significantly to the socio-economic upliftment of the areas we serve, embodying our belief in the transformative power of education for all. Thank you for considering Training Portal as your skills development provider. Visit our website at www.trainingportal.co.za. Now let's get back into the episode. So at Lucan Animation Studio, you have quite a few staff members and contributors that you oversee. What are their roles? How do you manage, such a large team, especially when it comes to different clients? Like you mentioned, there's a lot of different stakeholders that are involved.
Okay, so we're not the biggest team. We're quite a small team in the sense we're 15 people only permanently, and then we've got amazing contributors around us. I think currently we're running a team of 29 on various few projects, and that sort of goes up and down, depends on the project and the scope. Our infrastructure and technology pipeline and onboarding people is, I think, really solid for a more boutique studio. We spend a lot of time and money on that over the years and keep on updating it, so we can plug people in and out. Some of our contributors are permanently just plugged in, but they are contractors. So we know either they're getting day rates or month rates or contract, or, per deliverable, whatever it is. So it's an easy, quick conversation. So yeah, all of that's been set up. I think it's just from a business point of view, managing, overheads with the unpredictability of the industry. And just managing day to day. We've got amazing producers and production team and supervisors and creative directors. So yeah, we all do that, and we have certain things in place and dailies, and I think it's working quite well. But yeah, we're not big in short, but we can grow. We can scale up to easily. I think, like I said, 29 now, and we might even scale up to 40, depending on a few projects that might convert. So, but again, it's quite easy. It's
Just a matter of plugging someone in.
Yeah, it's a few buttons, it's a few emails, and then, they get onto our system.
And if you don't mind me asking, why do you maintain a physical office rather than, working remotely? Are all of your team members all office-based, or is it like some of them are, some of them aren't?
Yeah, it's a great question. I prefer office. I think, just my point of view, I think you can solve a lot of problems a lot quicker if you're in person. But we run a hybrid model.
Okay.
So, post-COVID, a lot of artists moved back, or, from where, let's say Johannesburg or wherever they originally came from. And then a lot of artists, moved to smaller towns with their families, which is fine. There's no issues with that. I think us having the studio, the physical space, is also, there's some hardware that needs a place to live. And if something goes wrong, you need someone there rather than having it in a storage facility. So there's a hardware component to it as well. It's not, we've moved a lot of things, to the cloud, but still there's that component. But yeah, we like the in-office. Currently, we run 2 to 3 days in studio.
Okay.
But not a lot of the team is like based in Cape Town anymore. So at most we'll probably, have 10 or 11 people in studio. But an interesting one, a lot of the contractors want to come in.
I think it's that whole sense of community when you're in an office.
That's the interesting one. It's like they ask, can they come and work in studio, which is great. Love it. But yeah, I like that setup. This morning alone, in 2 hours, I feel in person we solved. If it wasn't in person, we had to have huddles or quick, calls with certain individuals and then everyone, and to solve certain problems, and it just takes a little bit longer. And I personally get a lot of fatigue sitting on video calls all day. Where when I'm in person, it just goes a lot quicker and a lot faster, and it's nice, to grab a coffee with a colleague.
It's like that human element.
Yeah,
I must say, I miss that. We are fully remote for the most part, especially our Cape Town team. And I do. I enjoy, like, when I come to record for the podcast and I can meet with my colleagues for the first time in like a month. And it's you miss that. And I think COVID really did. It changed a lot of industries. That's why it's so interesting to hear that you guys are hybrid and that you do have an office that you come to, because like you said, it takes away a lot of that time when it comes to problem solving. Things can happen much faster. Now, animation, of course, includes multiple different stages, anything from client consultations to scripting, production, and editing. Can you walk us through your typical process and timelines for a project? I know they will differ depending on a project.
Sure. Let's look at commercial work. You get an email or you get an inquiry, and then either there's nothing attached to that email, so that takes a day or two. You have an intro call, or most often we do a treatment. Most often we have to pitch against other studios. That process alone, sometimes we only have 2 days to pitch, sometimes 3 days. Then you need to put a little team together, do all that. Most on the commercial side, you do often get a script already sent to you in some format. We do consult on it. So that process can take anything between at best 2 weeks to actually get back. Are you rewarded the job? Then you go through another whole week of planning.
Oh.
And also making sure all the deliverables and, budgeting and getting everything signed off and contracts being signed off with commercial client. From there, you start production. So then, let's say scripting is done, storyboarding, start running that, but then also start doing concept work on characters. I'm speaking from a point where most of our work have characters in, so then you start doing concept work on that. Once that is done, characters go to look dev rigging and all of that, while we start doing a previs, which is start looking at cameras and stuff in the CG environment. I might skip a few steps here. I know I'm skipping a few, but then, once it's out of rigging, we start animation. And then, after animation, we do lighting, rendering, and compositing. That's like a quick overview. So I don't have a diagram in front of me, but that's like really just touching on every department or process that needs to happen. Of course, in between there's weeklies up to like twice a week, like meetings with clients, show progress. Sometimes up front there's more meetings, and then the production part, we rather just do one a week because takes a bit of time to prep stuff for the clients. You don't want to be taking 2 hours from an artist. You'd rather just maybe, we do a Thursday, end of day. So that is ideal. And then towards the end, you might have 2 or 3 reviews a week just to see it through and to have that final notes addressed. How long does it take? 6 weeks to 12 weeks, depends on,
and everything in between, almost.
The scale of what the client wanted. Commercially long form, that it's difficult. Feature film, 18 months, 24 months. You need to get funding. That's a whole different conversation. It's more serious. Or even if you serve as a component of a film, we're doing a certain component on a feature film currently, and that's about 4 months or 5 months they've contracted us to do it. It's just like a component, a feature we're doing. So it's a difficult one on the long form stuff, but commercially for us, typically 6 to 12 weeks. Shorter turnaround time would be if someone provides us everything. That can be 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Oh, okay.
But then it's like, yeah, can you help us? Here's everything. And that can be for various reasons, which I won't jump into now, but that can be quite quick.
You've mentioned film and we've spoken about advertising. I'm interested in knowing which one is your biggest market at the moment?
I would say the commercial side keeps things ticking over. And then also we do play in certain sectors. So I put it under commercial, yes, but it's a bit more stable because we've got long-standing relationships with these clients. So that is almost like a retainer maintenance work that comes in, but it falls under commercial, I would say. Long form or, film series, to set up your own stuff is, I find is really difficult. You need to, from development, although we've managed to partner with a lot of development projects over years and we've helped develop it. And that again is, we service long form, EOD. Currently, make up, I would say, commercial sector, probably 70-80%, and the rest, but it can flip like that, where the long form stuff takes over. It depends on the actual project that I'm more referring to as I'm sitting here now.
It could be different in like 2 weeks.
Yes, it can.
And does most of your revenue come from the South African market or international clients?
Currently speaking, 0% comes from South Africa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's actually shocking. One would think, South Africa wants to kind of invest, because a lot of people say they want to invest in South African companies, and then that doesn't happen.
I don't think there's a lot of animation going around. I think every now and then there's a big animation project that gets commissioned by agency on a commercial level. But EOD will do like a small commercial project. Not to be against it, we'd love to do local work, but
it's just not there.
It's not necessarily coming through.
And what about in the rest of Africa?
We're currently speaking to a feature film in West Africa. Super nice guys. They want us to work on animation only, and a few other things on the feature, which is exciting. It's a very cool project. But on a commercial level, also nothing. So I would say our currently revenue-wise, we're looking at UK, Germany, and a few others.
And do you think this is because like South African animators are people just don't consider them on the same level as those in the US or Europe?
No, we're getting work from that side of the world and we're getting the opportunity to pitch against studios we respect a lot. I don't think that's the case. I think there's a few other reasons why there's not more long form work coming this way, because I think that's probably the conversation on the table currently, because that's a lot more sustainable for the industry, is getting just service level work, through the door where you co-produce with another studio, let's say a Canadian studio, a French studio. I think there's other reasons for that, which I'm not sure if we've got time to jump into it. I think there's a lot of opportunity. We're not a massive industry. I think there's nothing wrong with our skill set. And our artists, I think some artists a big pool of artists are really talented. So I think we must remember that these big, or I say big, but these international studios are also very reliant on, governmental support, incentives, rebates. So it's difficult to always, we do have a rebate system, but it's difficult necessarily to access it, or at least it's, I don't want to jump into things because I am sort of working with them in some capacity to assist them. I'm not negative around it. I just think there needs to be more support from governmental point, because that's what all other countries are doing. And that's why their industries are a bit more
advanced.
I'm referring to like Canada, Ireland, the French. French is the OG and the powerhouse. But there's nothing wrong with our skill, in short. And I think we can have a booming little industry here, and we can keep our talent here. A lot of our good talent is working all over the world. The guys that were, with the real experience that can step into like supervision roles, and they were all of them are working for UK studios and other studios, and have even left the country. A lot of them still work remote from here, which is lovely, but I've left the country. Yeah.
This might be a little on the nose, but what is the typical salary range for a South African animator? What, especially, someone like an entry level?
Like a junior artist, first time in industry, again, I would say 20 a month. It depends. It depends on
a lot of factors.
Depends. They need to be able to contribute in a team and add value. They need, in the commercial side, we sell time and skill, of course. So you need to be able to be billable. I'm just giving a bit of a thumbs up, but it can go up, it can go a bit down, but it's more or less your median, I would say.
Okay.
For someone that is quite fresh and needs guidance. And
I mean, that's not a bad starting salary, and especially if you take into account most South African industries, you're looking at a base of like 8. So that's a really, but like you said, they need to form part of the team and actually be willing to learn. It's not just, this is your salary, this is what you're going to get. And most animators, are they salaried or freelancers?
Where we are now, I think the contract or freelance model is becoming a bit more popular.
Okay.
But like our team members, some of them have been with us for 10 years.
Yeah.
Because there's something unique and special to that aspect. Yeah, so it depends on the business, depends on the studio. Or most of our close friends and studios around the world, they run a similar model. They've got like 10 to 15 people permanently, then the rest are contracted. Okay. And so I think from a boutique or smallest thing, I think the smallest studio is going to be the studio that sort of takes things forward in the industry. That's also a whole different topic.
So what sets Lucan Animation Studios apart from other studios? Why do you think clients choose to work with you?
I think our creative ability and output and final picture is good. I do think it is on international standards. From a technology and pipeline point of view, we do have a solid setup. Again, it's under the hood. Clients aren't really necessarily, the commercial clients don't necessarily really care about that, but the long form, they do care about it, do care about security and all of that. So we've got that sorted. I think our people are very nice, to work with. I think
that's always a big thing.
I think our service is good. We do care. We really do care. And we've got strong creative individuals in the team and around us. So it's like we don't have necessarily that one unique thing. I think it's a little bit of everything that I would say gives us at least the opportunity to work on certain projects, or at least to bid, on certain projects.
And you've worked with powerhouse studios like all over the world. I mean, places like Disney. How do you secure high-profile projects like this? Like, what type of marketing strategies, if any, do you use to most attract these sorts of clients?
Where I'm now, and what I think I would say, it's, get on a plane and go to conferences and meet these people and have a coffee with them, have a beer with them, be in that space. I'm going to mention Triggerfish. They've been doing it for years, and we had the opportunity to work with them and also speaking to them. Like I said, they've been doing it for years, and that is, at the end of the day, it's like that. I think that human connection is important. People like people. And even, if AI takes over, there will have to be some kind of human interaction. So that's currently where we're at. I think, your general, and what we do and how we do it, the general, digital marketing footprint is, I don't think you shouldn't do it. I think it should be part of your strategy. But a lot of it is almost relatable to your peers. If you just put up beautiful work constantly, it's from a clientele point of view, I think you need to be a bit more solution based and a bit more direct. I'm not saying like bombarding people on LinkedIn or emails. I think that's where the really tailored solutions need to come in. And you need to be clear in what you can do for them. But like a lot of our clients are relationship based. It's like they've been with us for years. So yeah, but we do tend to go to a few conferences that staggered over the year and, strategically meet with certain people we want to meet with and not just, try not to waste people's time. I think we value, whoever we're meeting with their time. So there needs to be, some kind of constructive conversation. So that's how we do it, but we're not very good in marketing, in all honesty. So yeah, that's something we are constantly working on and, so maybe not the best answer.
Now, before we end off and say goodbye and everything, what final piece of advice would you have to any sort of listener listening, whether they are wanting to get into animation or film, anything like that?
If someone wants to enter the market, I would say, even if you do go studying, put in a lot of time in developing your portfolio on the side, like whatever the curriculum is, be curious and throw yourself, into yourself, self-educating yourself and upskilling yourself, because the curriculum is there for a reason. It's guidance, but there's so much more out there. And I think that will also make you stand out from your peers. And also possibly maybe get you quicker to a place where you realize this is not for you, in all honesty. So, it's very much at that age. And again, we're speaking here about an 18-year-old that's about to finish school. So I would say that's probably, and embrace AI and all of it. Like, go for it. Like, I don't think there's a wrong out there. I hope that answered it.
Well, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to sit here and have this conversation with me. I mean, I've learned a lot. I came into this knowing very little about animation. Now I know way more than I thought I ever would.
Your questions are really good.
Oh, thank you. But it was an absolute pleasure sitting with you and having this conversation.
No, thank you. Yeah, I also enjoyed it. Thanks.
Well, thank you. Next time on the Training Portal podcast.
To have some product. Play in itself is development. If you look at animals, they basically are primed to practice the skills that they'll need one day, and actually people aren't too different. They can get to a stage, and you'll know this as a teacher, it's fascinating how they get to a stage where all of a sudden they want to, that container play. They want to fit things in and dump things out, because that's what the brain needs at that stage. They'll get to a stage where it's all about the sensory. They want to touch everything and taste everything, and everything must be squishy and gooey and slime. And so any kind of play really is going to help towards that development. But we do know that the more parents are involved, and not in taking over the play, but there almost as a guide or just a solid anchor for the child to know, I am safe, I can play, there are people who are interested in me and who are looking after me. So few parents actually have the time to sit down and play with their young children.